It is that time of year again. It is time for our 2024 Wrapped, not Spotify Wrapped, not any other kind of Wrapped. We're doing Rockies Wrapped here on the show today. Christian Saez, Noah Spirek with Blake Street Banner hanging out with us here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Noah, welcome to the show, man. Where are you calling in from? Because I know you jump around a lot this time of year.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Right now, I am in Indiana, but getting ready to have a whole bunch of extravagant times with extended family, and a lot of them are based up in New York. So good to be here.
Yeah, you've been doing the whole, the family experience. I heard you also ruptured your Achilles. Is that correct? Playing little hoops.
Sprained my ankle, so not quite that bad. But yeah, we're on the injured list right now, but making a good recovery.
It's the offseason injury list, a non-baseball related injury for Noah Spirek. Also, prior to your 21st birthday, happy early birthday. Does that stop you from being able to go out and celebrate on your birthday?
Well, number one, thank you. And I think I'll be good because it's in a couple of days and the injury happened 3 days ago. So I'll be able to rally whenever I need.
Having a birthday on Christmas probably, I don't know if there's a single day out there that's worse day to have a birthday on than Christmas. Like maybe, I don't know, you could do like it would be pretty bad to to have been born on like 9/11, or something like that. Like there are some bad ones out there, but Christmas, that it's hard to celebrate, you and everything else at the same time.
Yeah, and so kind of the flip side to that is I'll never have to work on my birthday, but that kind of has an asterisk because if I work in sports like I want to, that's no guarantee. But it's a birthday's a birthday. I love it.
Your birthday's a birthday. I know. We're all hoping you can find an open bar somewhere open on Christmas to celebrate turning 21. Although it still feels weird that you're actually 21. I still feel like you're, just the 17-year-old kid running around Coors Field.
No, now I'm getting upgraded. I'm getting upgraded and my respect goes up.
Yeah, I can't be dogging you for your age anymore. So it's an end of an era, man. Congrats, you made it all the way through. You're now one of us here on the show. We got a good show for you guys here today. We're celebrating the holidays, and in true holiday fashion, we did our show last week, talking about Rockies wish lists, who, what, where, when, do the Rockies want to get on their wish list. And today we're looking more of like an end of year kind of wrap up. What's 24 predictions and or questions that we have entering the upcoming season? So I put together a list of 24 questions. We're going to go through this list, give your prediction, and we'll kind of break it down, talk about it a little bit. And that's kind of going to be the show. We're going off the rails here today, I'm sure, too, because let's be realistic. 24 predictions and or questions is a lot. And the Rockies, there's a lot of things that we have that we're probably going to sit here and say, this is what's happening. And it's probably not going to happen that way. So we're going to do our best to give the best hard-hitting Rockies analysis as possible. And everything that Noah says now that he's almost 21 is going to come true. So we're just going to go based off that.
Beautiful. We're here for it.
we're here for it. So, the Rock to start with, before we jump into our predictions and questions, the Rockies offseason is pretty much done. And if it's not, it'll be a shock to all of us. When I had talked to Bill Schmidt in Dallas, he had basically said the only moves that we're even remotely going to be making to the remainder of this year, at least on the record, are non-roster invite pitchers. Guys that can just build some depth, right? Jeffrey Yan, for example, like guys like that. So I think at this point, you can kind of look at the Rockies offseason and say, okay, this is what we have to work with for next year. These are the guys that we're going to see, give or take. No other big names are going to be mixed in here. And the stove is definitely heating up around other teams. But for the Rockies, they're pretty much set. So I don't know if you saw this, Noah, but Brooksgate, who happens to be the most depressing Rockies account in existence for us Rockies fans, put out their, ratings of, wins and losses or predicted wins and losses for each team. And the Rockies were second to last, with Vegas setting the odds for the over-under at 60.5. 60 and a half games is Vegas odds for the Rockies wins and losses. So that predicts that the Rockies will have another 100-loss season. So that's going to be our first prediction/question. Wins and losses, Noah. What's your prediction? Do the Rockies go over or under the 60 and a half wins and loss mark?
Yeah, I'm going to take the over. I think that in a year where the team is going to be 98% the same, all of our young guys now have another year of experience under their belt. I'm expecting some of those young guys to take steps forward while hoping that there's no fall off from any of them. And however realistic that is, I do think ultimately it will add at least a few or a sizable number of wins to our resume. So I'm going to go over 60 and a half.
Okay. I like that. Do you have a specific number that you want to throw out there, a record as of now? We could probably do this closer to the season starting too, but as of now, given what we know already, is there a record that you would predict for next year?
So last year, coming into this past season, I predicted 69 wins for the Rockies, and I'm going to double down and I'm going to go with that same number. I want this team to reach 70 wins. I'm just not sure if we're there yet, but I think 69 is a nice number for them to win.
That is a great number, and you're 21, so now you're almost 21 now, so that can no longer be funny to you anymore. You got to say that with a straight face. When we do the race to 69 next year, as the Rockies are in light or in road to that 69 win mark, you have to just say it with a straight face from here on out. No laughing allowed. I'm actually going to up you a little bit. I'm going to go to 72. I think the Rockies are going to finish 72 and 90. That's my prediction right now. You can mark this on. Tiff can clip this, quote it, whatever you want to do. 72 and 90. And the reason why, again, we're going off the rails here. The reason why, though, I think is there is a back end of a bullpen that I think has a lot more oomph than we've seen in years past. A lot more quality than we've seen in years past. And again, they still have a lot to prove. Seth Alverson, Jaden Hill, Victor Vodnik, there's still question marks within that mix of guys. But I do think the overall combination of the bullpen is one of the more promising features of this entire Rockies team. So I think there were a handful of maybe, I think almost 10 games last year where they lost it. The Rockies lost based on their 7th through 9th inning pitching. I think the Rockies will limit that a lot going into next year. 72 and 90. That's going to be a push, but I think the Rockies can get to that.
I'm with you. I think that would be a great step because, now that we're off back-to-back 100-loss campaigns, the Rockies have to start taking steps forward to prove to the fan base that this rebuild is working, and I think that would be a great step.
Yeah, and not just like a 1-game step or 2 games like they did, 103 losses to 101. We can't just be like, oh, we only got 100 wins or 100 losses last year. Like that, it needs to go beyond that. 72 and 90 feels attainable, but still like a push. We still got to push to get to that. All right, number 2, prediction/questions for 2024 or 2025, I should say. What month does our guy Chase Dollander debut in a Rockies uniform?
Oh gosh, that's a fun one because you can go the realistic route or you can go the optimistic route.
Go optimistic, my guy.
Yeah, I'm going to go optimistic, and I'm going to say May. And I think that the Rockies are going to push the envelope with Dollander. This whole past season, the whole thing with him was working on his command, getting in the strike zone more. I like his chances that in the offseason he continues to improve there. In spring training, he'll be able to impress, and heck, the way injuries happen, especially with the Rockies' arms in recent seasons, hopefully it doesn't require an injury for him to be called up.
Yeah.
Let's get Chase Dollander and Rockies pinstripes by May.
From every conversation I've had with Bud Black and Bill Schmidt, they have said that Chase Dollander has every chance in the world in spring training to earn a spot on the roster. Now that would mean he would have to pretty much dethrone someone, which is going to be tough. But I do think there's a world that we live in which Chase Dollander is on the team earlier than people think. And so I think May's a good month. I think May, I'll go with May as well. I think we could see Chase Dollander in a Rockies uniform in the month of May. And I think that gives him enough time. Now, the only thing that you have to think about with that too, though, is that, like, do the Rockies want to keep his rookie status in order? So do they wait until he passes that deadline to keep his rookie status? Or I don't know. That's going to be the question that I think gets tossed around a lot with Chase Dollander. But if he's good enough in spring training to look like what we expect him to, I say go for it, right? Like, look how good Paul Skeens was and how quickly he came into the mix last year. If you have a guy on your team that has a chance to be like Paul Skeens, even a version of that for the Rockies, you bring him up right away. So I think Dollander comes up in May. I don't think that's a crazy thing to think about. We'll go a little granular here on number 3, a little specific. Rockies are playing their first game of the year in Tampa at Steinbrenner Field. They're playing a day after everyone else plays. So they're playing the day after everyone else plays their first day. We get to wait one day. We get a little nice hangover day to wait until the Rockies play, especially for 21-year-old Noah over here. So do they win their first game? Because it's going to be a weird circumstance playing in a minor league field, minor league stadium. Like, do they win game number 1 against the Rays?
I don't think so. And I think in recent years, the Rockies have been very successful on opening days, minus 2024. We're like, throw that whole game in Arizona out. I think 2 years ago, they started 2-0, opening up in San Diego with 2 pretty convincing wins. I just think that this year, I mean, this is basically a coin flip, right? But I think the fact that it's going to be played in such weird conditions in a minor league stadium a day later than everyone else, I think the media is going to be highlighting this game. And just for the Rays being at home, I think there might be like a fight for Tampa Bay or some movement because of the difficulties that they've had to go through with all of the Hurricanes. I just see all of that fairy tale magic leading to a Rays win.
Okay. All right. You got a Rays win in game 1. Not to say the Rockies can't win more beyond that, but Rays take game 1. Number 4, who is the biggest pitching surprise in a positive way for you? Out of all the arms, minor and major, who ends up kind of being the biggest surprise to you in a good way?
I'm going to say Ryan Feltner, and I almost want to go with this out of necessity because at this point with the Rockies, he has proven what he can be and what he is too often, right? He has great stuff on the team. He, when in control of the strike zone and throwing strikes, staying aggressive, all these things that Bud Black loves, Ryan Feltner can be an ace, really, of this staff. I think he is so effective when he is attacking and not trying to nibble. Then he starts walking guys. But if he's in the zone, he's got all the stuff in the world to be successful. And I think this is the year that he really puts it together.
I love it. Ryan Feltner was my guy too. He had such a good end of the year last year. His fastball was incredible, mixed in with all of those other bullpen pitchers with great fastballs. I think Ryan Feltner is going to be the biggest positive surprise for Rockies fans out of that pitching staff. I do think there's going to be some negative, letdowns out of the pitching staff. I'm saying it now. I'm not adding this to my prediction list. I'm just saying I think there's going to be some guys that end up struggling out of the starting rotation. Ryan Feltner, I hope, and I'm predicting, is not going to be one of those guys. He's even a guy I could see possibly gracing an all-star game if he pitches like he did towards the end of the season. We're going all in, man. Got to have some sort of positive vibes as we move into it. Let's jump down to number 5 because we're doing 6 per segment. Number 5, Nolan Jones prediction. Overall, what do we see from Jonesy next year?
I'm saying he's going to match the jersey number on his shirt. He's going to hit 22 homers. He's going to drive in close to 90 RBI. And he's got to steal 20 bags, too. He's a 2020 guy every year as long as he's healthy. And so that's what I'm going to go with.
Do we get 2023 Nolan Jones back?
I think 2023 Nolan Jones is probably that. I don't want to call it his peak, right? Because that's just rude and undermining the guy. But I think 2023 Nolan Jones was a bit better than what the Rockies expected. And 2024 Nolan Jones was obviously under that bar. I think he's going to meet somewhere in the middle, but be closer to 2023, and that's where I'm going to set the bar.
All right. I think Nolan Jones, I think we're going to take 2023, give it the boot, and say we're going above and beyond to the moon with Nolan Jones. I think he's the bounce back player of the year for the Rockies. I think he is going to win comeback player of the year. He's got what it takes. I'm an eternal optimist. I'll say it when it's not right. And we've said plenty of times Nolan Jones was not right, but I think he still has what it takes. Nolan Jones, comeback player of the year. I think he's going to be a big guy next year. Last one, wrapping up the segment as we continue on here on the show. Does Big Mike get big gold glove conversations by the end of the year? You think he's going to be in that mix?
Sure, why not? I mean, last year all of his defensive metrics got skewed because he was playing in the outfield. So if you looked at his Baseball Savant page, he was red on almost every defensive statistic because his range numbers aren't great. Well, yeah, that's a first baseman that was forced to play corner outfield for a chunk of the year. Then from June through the end of the year, he broke Todd Helton's record for most consecutive games started at first base in a single season because the Rockies haven't had that answer at first base in so long. And so this year, yeah, sure, it is his position to lose. It really is. And so if he's in there every day, we know what he can do with the glove. I don't see how he couldn't be a finalist for the Gold Glove.
I love it. I love it. I've been saying it, shouting it from the rooftops. Big Mike has Gold Glove aspirations, potential. Bud Black has said it to me before that he thinks Michael Toglia will be able to be in the running for a Gold Glove at some point in his career. Is it going to be next year? Who knows? But he's going to have the chance. He's gonna be your first baseman. So going to be interesting. When we come back, though, I got to take a break here. Want to dive a little bit into the outfield to talk a little bit about what this outfield situations look like, what our outfield predictions for 2025 and beyond are. We're going to get back to that here in just a moment. But before we do, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365 because at Bet365, we don't do ordinary. Every single sport is epic. And, I got to say, because I know a lot of our listeners, our viewers like to bet on college football, especially, the college football that we've seen recently. If you were betting on any college football game in that first college football playoff round, good luck to you, because those were some wild games. Also, our hearts go out to Noah and his Indiana Hoosiers that just completely took one off the face.
Hey, it ended up being the closest round one loss of all the teams. So
you weren't as bad as everyone else. We'll put it that way. Just like the Rockies can say they weren't as bad as the White Sox last year, right? So, measure that as you will. But, for the sports bettors out there, college football is in full swing. Hopefully our games get a little bit better. I know I'm looking, over these next couple weeks, these next couple rounds, there are some pretty solid bets that you can jump around with in the college football world. You also got the NFL, NBA, my personal favorite, college basketball. But whatever it is, you can use code DNVR365 when you sign up with the Bet365 app. Deposit $10. Choose between either a bet and get offer by placing a bet of $5 or more and getting $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer by placing a bet of up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund and bonus bets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Also got to give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota, because Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR, the official vehicle of myself as well. I got my Toyota outside, and actually, my Toyota is doing great. I got a 2007 Toyota Highlander, 250,000 miles. Like, it's crushing it. But because it's got 250,000 miles, I'm starting to look into, okay, what's the next step for me? And one of the cars that stands out so much, because I want to stay within the Toyota realm, is a RAV4. I love getting off out in nature, doing some fishing, backpacking with the dogs, all that kind of stuff. And I like to have a car that can handle that and can get me out places, has good gas mileage, all of that kind of stuff. And the RAV4 kind of fits the bill. It's got plenty of space. It's got it's got a lot of seats, so you can put the car seats in the back when we have kids one day. Like, it's got all of those different options. And we actually had a buddy who came over to the house last night, and they had a brand new RAV4, and I got to sit in it and look around, and it just reaffirmed all of my already understanding of how good Toyota is. It's just, everything about it is great. They love the car. I know Toyota is the best. There's a reason I'm going to keep buying Toyota for as long as I can possibly drive. And so, yeah, even though Noah is, barely legal to drive, I know, we're all big Toyota fans here, and we're still getting those digs in for the last few days before he turns 21. But yeah, Toyota, truly the best. They have so many different choices. So hop over to your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood, the official vehicle of DNVR. All right, back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Christian Saez, Noah Spirek. Noah, once you turn 21, you can get me back by just calling me old, because I'm about to turn 28 here, in a year. I'm almost 30. I know. It's great.
How's your back feel, huh?
Terrible, actually, man. It's once you get over 25, your entire body just is like, I'm like, can't see anything anymore. I go to sleep at 7 p.m. every night when the Rockies aren't playing. It's brutal. Man. I feel like I'm 50.
Well, I'm excited. Once I turn 21, I can use that Bet365 code. So
you can.
Exciting.
I know. Marissa was giving me a hard time the other day because we were helping her grandma move into a different house, and I by the 6th or 7th hour of moving, I was just cooked. I was so tired, and she is looking at me. I mean, Marissa goes to the gym like 12 days a week, and she's insane. And she's looking at me like, dude, you need to go do some cardio. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I got it. All right. I'm getting there. I'm 28 years old. What do you expect?
Exactly.
I'm an old man.
It's not exactly hiking season out in Colorado either. So
yeah, I know. And like, I don't get me wrong, I love skiing and snowboarding. I just don't have time to go skiing and snowboarding as much like this time of year, just because this is a really busy season for me broadcasting wise. So like it's really just going on walks with my dogs and like doing a little fishing here and there, but it's not a lot of outside time. So I'm up in the mountains right now, though. We're going to go take the dogs on a walk after this. As you can see, I'm in my father-in-law's office. All his PhDs and, degrees are behind me. So it makes me look really smart
you look like a stud.
As I'm sitting here talking about Rockies. I know. It puts your background to shame, though. That's for sure.
I got the blank wall. My PhDs will all be right here.
The Noah Spirek PhDs. Yeah. I love it. I know. Yeah, we all know Blake Street Banner requires a PhD to be an analyst. Only the best of the best. You can't be a Blake Street Banner analyst unless you have your PhD.
Something like that.
Something like that. I think that was on the job description. Yeah, whatever. We'll take it. We just appreciate having some knowledgeable baseball folks in this community, right? Like it's a great baseball community. I know I was able to go on a couple other podcasts last week, and I know it's fun. It's a lot of fun to be able to talk Rockies. I know there's probably people in the comments like, oh, why are these guys talking about the Rockies? And it's like there is something wrong with us, but it's a good thing, right? There's predictions to be had.
A better question is why not? Why aren't these guys talking about the Rockies, right?
I love it. I love that. Shape it a little differently. All right, let's dive back into our 24 predictions to round out 2024. We're on to number 7. We're doing 6 per segment. 7 jumping in with Brenton Doyle. Will Brenton Doyle win his 3rd Gold Glove in 2025?
Yeah, unless voter fatigue kicks in and they take an MVP from Jokic and give it to Embiid, like that happened a couple years ago. I think Jackson Merrill is going to make a strong case out of San Diego, but as long as Brenton Doyle continues to do his thing and there's nothing stopping him, he's going to continue to rule the vastest outfield in all of baseball. And so I think that automatically gives him head and shoulders above the rest of the field. And yeah, I'm just going to continue to ride the hot hand. Let's make it a 3-peat.
I don't disagree with you at all, man. I think Brenton Doyle is your guy. He is the one player and Bud Black said this. He's the one player on the team, aside from Charlie Blackmon. This was after Blackmon retired. One player on the team that I don't worry about at all. Yeah. And Tovar, I think, is a close second, but Tovar's bat was the issue. He strikes out too much. Like there are some things he needs to figure out. Doyle's bat picked up. His defense picked up. He commands this one of the toughest center fields in all baseball. He's the 3rd-time Gold Glove next year. I can see it happening. Number 8, what will happen with Thairo Estrada? How does he fit in up the middle for the Rockies? Do you think he kind of gets back to his old early San Francisco Giants days, or do you think there's a tough transition playing at Coors Field?
Yeah, so Thairo Estrada, when he signed with the Rockies, it became somewhat controversial, not only among the Blake Street Banner team, but also on Rockies Twitter. I really like the signing. I think what he's been able to do with his bat early in his career is very positive, and you put him in a place like Coors Field, he really can thrive just with the way he's contact first. I think, it's also a position of need for the Rockies. Uh, Brendan Rodgers, excuse me, he's no longer with the team. And so, you can't just hand the keys to Adael Amador, who is still very young, and he got his cup of coffee last year. He'll continue to develop and get better. But I think having Estrada there to mentor Amador is a great thing. And shoot, I don't know what we can really expect performance wise, but the floor is pretty high with a guy like Estrada, even if the ceiling is not overwhelming.
Yeah, see, I like his defense more than I like his offense. I mean, his offense was what struggled the most, but defensively, I think he can be a. I mean, in his prime, he was a Gold Glove and a conversationalist. Like he was in that conversation for the Gold Glove finalists, and I think he could fit right in with Ezekiel Tovar up the middle. I've already shown some of his highlights. Like the dude's a walking highlight. It's just a matter of consistency. Can he keep his errors down? That's the big question for me. I think Estrada's a good signing. I think he's going to be fun with Tovar. I think because you have such a good middle infield already, Estrada fits right in. I actually like him a little more than Rodgers on paper. I mean, I understand like the love for Rodgers aside from that, but I think he changes things up a little bit enough for the Rockies. So I'm all in for Estrada, but we'll have to see. Only time will tell on Tyro Estrada. But number 9, aside from Doyle, who is the outfielder that steps up the most this year, aside from Doyle again? And it could be anyone, minors or majors.
I was going to say Nolan Jones is who we're all rooting for. I think that's a bit too obvious, but one of Yanquiel Fernandez or Zach Veen has to take that step this year. They have
no Jordan Beck?
Jordan Beck, yeah, that one should have been at the forefront of my mind. I just don't know because he's kind of played himself, and injuries have happened too. He's kind of played himself into this three-way competition for right field where I'm not comfortable committing all the way to him. And I mean, look, he's had awful luck with the injuries, and he hasn't gotten that much of a chance to prove himself. So I might be jumping the gun, but I just think the fan base wide excitement for Zach Veen has been there since the day the Rockies drafted him. And like it is so past due that we get to see him at Coors Field. And so that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, and also a little side note, when Bretton Doyle was talking to me earlier in the year on the show, he had said him and Zach Veen played together before, and they've trained together a lot before in their times going back to, I believe it was Albuquerque or was it Hartford? I can't remember which one he said, but they did play for a little bit together and they've trained together. So Veen already has a relationship built with Bretton Doyle, as does Jordan Beck as well. But I do think that helps his case. Zach Veen's going to be a guy that I think can fit in similarly to how Jordan Beck fit into the outfield last year for the Rockies. And I think it's just going to be a competition between who can get it between Zach Veen and Jordan Beck. Sam Hilliard's your depth piece. Bud Black's already said it. He's your expensive depth piece, right? He's a guy who can hit a home run in the 9th inning anytime he gets up to bat. And he can play serviceable outfield, right? Like that's all you need. That's all you really need from Sam Hilliard. So I agree. Zach Veen, I think, is my guy. Moving down to number 10. This is a good one. Who or whom are the Rockies All-Star nominations in 2025? We had Rymack last year. We obviously had Elias Diaz, All-Star MVP the year before that. Is there a guy or multiple guys that you see gracing the All-Star game in a Rockies uniform this year?
Well, it would be fantastic for the organization if it was Chase Dollander that put together that much of a push. If he was to come up in May, like that's more than enough time to make a push for the All-Star game. We just saw it with Skeens last year. I don't, like you mentioned after the segment earlier, the whole team control manipulation thing probably limits the ability for the Rockies to call him up as early as they want to if he's doing terrific in the minor leagues. But if Dollander was an All-Star candidate this year, like the Rockies rebuild is so far accelerated from where it has been, that'd be fantastic. I think Brenton Doyle is the obvious choice to make his first All-Star game. I would love for Ezekiel Tovar to be there too. You just have to measure that early season consistency with where he kind of made strides from last year, because last year his first half was fantastic and he still came up short. So how much better can he get from last year is kind of the equation there. But I'm going to go with Brenton Doyle.
Yeah, Dollander would be huge, but yeah, Doyle is the more realistic one. I don't know if Rymack gets back to another one, to be honest, especially how quickly he fell off after the All-Star game last year. I don't know. But Doyle seems like the up-and-coming All-Star for the Rockies. He'd be fun to watch in a Rockies uniform at the All-Star game. Speaking of Rymack, is Rymack due for a bounce back offensively next year?
Gosh, Ryan McMahon has been one of the hottest when hot and coldest when cold players in recent memory for me as a Rockies fan. I mean, he's been on the Rockies since 2018 when they started making those strides towards a division crown and forcing a game 163 with the Dodgers. I think ever since that point, we've kind of always, and Bud Black said this to us, like we've always known that there's more in the tank with him. And so he finally got that first All-Star selection this year. And then he was a Gold Glove finalist. Again, he didn't walk away with the award, but this past year, like McMahon kind of put all those skeletons in the closet. Like he got over the hump in more ways than one. And so this year, I'm not sure what the expectation level can be with his performance, just because the last couple months of last year were pretty challenging for him.
Yeah. No, I agree. And he's due for a bounce back, but I wonder if he's got enough gas in the tank. I mean, he's not old by any means,
No.
but he's been in the league for a while. So do you have the gas in the tank to get back on the horse at the elite level that you have to be to compete not only in the NL West, which is the hardest division in the history of baseball, but also all of, any game you play. And that's the biggest question mark to me. So Rymack due for a bounce back season offensively. I don't know. I hate to put this one as the negative response, but I feel like Rymack's going to be the guy that we get towards the trade deadline and say, are we tossing his name out there because he just to salvage whatever value he's left? I just don't know.
And it would be interesting to see even what the value would be for a guy like McMahon, because like I said, it just throughout his entire career, like at this point, it's well documented that he's streaky both ways. And so, however, I mean, front offices will see if they want to trade for a guy with an OPS or an OPS plus that never really hovers above league average.
Yeah. That's going to be the big question mark for me. When we come back, though, from this next break, I want to talk about the catching situation, some catching predictions for next year when we come back. Before that, though, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Coors Light. And Noah, with just a couple days away, you're going to get to take your first sip of a Coors Light, and it's going to change your life, man. It's going to
can't wait.
21 years old, and just on Christmas Day, it's going to be great. That's got to be the first drink that you have when you're 21. So we're excited for you, man. It's just it's the end of an era, and you get to just join the rest of us and enjoy some Coors Light. It's truly the best. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Bullet.
I know exactly. You've seen so much about it for years, and now you finally get to jump on the frozen train. You gotta get those mountains nice and blue. But that's why Coors Light is truly the best. I mean, you even if, like I said, even if you're not familiar with our show or whatnot, like Coors Light, their name, their reputation speaks for itself. They are the best, most refreshing light beer. My personal favorite. We had some Coors Lights that we were drinking yesterday when we were hanging out with some friends and family here, and it goes well with anything. It's great in the summer afternoon at Coors Field. Noah, you're going to get to come hang out at the rooftop with us, on a day you're not working, of course. And have a Coors Light up on the rooftop. Those $3 Coors Lights at the rooftop are the best of the best. I mean, the vibes don't get better than that. So
that's a bucket list item right there.
It is. It really is. Like, you can't be a Rockies fan. Like, it's like a Rockies bucket list item as it goes on. So I'm excited for you, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Coors Light. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. Also, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Empire Today. Because at Empire Today, if you are looking to get your floors replaced, home, business, wherever you are, Empire Today is the best in the business. They get you covered. They take care of you with quality, service, and speed. Those three pillars really allow you to get the most out of those floors. I know they redid our studio floors back in DNVR. I am not at DNVR right now, but back in our studios, our floors look incredible. And I've talked about it. You want to be able to have floors that suit your needs. Not only do they look good, but they can fit whatever lifestyle you live in. I'm right now in Marissa's and my wife's family's house. They have these beautiful, like, natural wood floors, but they don't have crazy big dogs running around the house and scratching up the floors, right? Like, so we're very careful about what we do inside the house. Whereas my floors in my house have a totally different expectation. They need to be able to have, dogs running around and all of that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure you get the right type of floors where they fit your lifestyle, they fit your needs. Empire Today can get you started. Schedule a free in-home estimate. All listeners of this show can receive $350 off when you use promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/DNVR for details. All right, number 12 here, back on the DNVR Rockies 24 predictions to wrap up 2024. Does Kyle Farmer ever end up catching? We know he can, but does he end up doing that next year?
I'm gonna say no. I didn't even know he could. To be
Really?
honest, I'm a casual. I guess.
Take your PhD. Take those diplomas down, man.
That's why my wall is blank. No, I don't think so, and I don't think it'd be good for the Rockies' development if they had him catch.
That was kind of my question. Yeah. So Kyle Farmer can catch. That is one of his options. It's more of an emergency case. Bud Black had said, yeah, there's a chance that he catches. He's your utility infielder. He's there to provide depth. There was the conversation that if due to an injury or something like that, if they needed to, they could put him in the catcher's position. But you really want your guys, Jacob Stallings, Hunter Goodman, and Drew Romo, to be catching as much as possible. So that leads me to number 13. Aside from Jacob Stallings, who is not your long-term solution, let's be realistic about Stallings. He's not your long-term solution. He's your veteran starter. Who picked up the most catching minutes in 2025, Goodman or Romo?
I think the Rockies fan base wants it to be Romo, but over at Blake Street Banter, Hunter Goodman's our guy, and he was also my first ever interview as a reporter, and so I'm going to go with my guy Hunter Goodman. I think that he hits bombs, and if he can raise the average to even just above 200, maybe even 225, like you're giving Bud Black enough of a reason to put you in the lineup because of the bombs.
Here's the difference for me. I agree. I think the fans and myself included want Drew Romo to have success in a Rockies uniform, but his bat just was not there last year. His only good series that he had was against the Marlins, which are the Marlins, right? So his bat never performed at the level really to be able to compete at a big league level, even in Rockies, terms. And so despite him being a really good defensive player, I just think the value of having a guy who can hit home runs and hit for even some decent average if he gets long enough, enough outings, is more valuable to you than having a guy who is really, really good behind the plate but doesn't hit as well. That's why I think they're going to go with Goodman. Goodman's serviceable as a catcher. He's not bad. I'm not, going to say he's a bad catcher. He just isn't your lockdown Yadier Molina type of catcher that the Rockies want to have. So, do you kind of weigh the pros and cons there? I think the Rockies are going to end up weighing the pros of Hunter Goodman's bat. But that's going to be a weird one. That is going to be a weird one. And I think that one's going to ebb and flow as the season goes.
Yeah. And another question with it is how many games do they play when it's not Jacob Stallings behind home plate? Like, is it going to be an 80-game split between Stallings and then the other two combined? Like, I don't know, because Stallings, we know, is not the long-term. Like, the next time the Rockies make the postseason, Jacob Stallings won't be behind the dish in all likelihood.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to find that answer. And last year was really disappointing for Drew Romo. And it's just tough to give up on a guy that showed so much promise in the minor leagues.
Yeah. Well, and look, he hasn't had a lot of playing time at the big leagues either. So, you're not done. You're not giving up on him yet. But there is that concern of if he doesn't figure this out soon, it is going to be a, nail in the coffin and we move forward. So we'll see how that continues. Moving on down the list. Number 14. Which young bullpen arm ends up having the most impressive season out of that core bullpen that we saw at the end of last year? Which of them has the most standout year?
Gosh. I mean, I love Jaden Hill. I really want him to be successful, especially because what he's had to go through with injuries in the path he took to the big leagues, kind of being an older guy of the young players. He's almost a vet of that young group. I think him being able to pump 100 by guys is essential. And I mean, what the Rockies got from Halverson was kind of a surprise last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so Hill, I think, has that expectation. And so if he can put it together after another offseason in the Rockies pitching lab, I think that would be essential for the Rockies' success.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Seth Halverson, like you said. Before you were talking about Hill, like for me, Seth Halverson came onto the scene. Didn't know a ton about him. You knew he threw hard. You knew he pitched well, but like you just didn't know how that was going to translate. When you get to the big leagues, and the dude was shoving it for his first 4 or 5 outings, really, until he hit that one game against the Dodgers where he just blew it in the 9th. And most of that was on a balk that happened before that, or there was that other game that had the balk. But regardless, outside of 2 blown saves, Halverson was lights out, and his stuff looked really, really good. So that leads me to my next question, which is in line with this. Number 15, who becomes the Rockies closer next year? Do they have a traditional closer, or do they go with a rotating cast?
I think for a while, Bud will try to ride out with one guy, because every team, like having a closer that you can count on, is not something that all teams have. It's actually pretty rare, but if you can get a guy that's already young and then already know that moving forward, it would be huge. And I think I'm going to kind of cop out of the question here and mention another guy that could go with the last question that you asked. Luis Peralta, he came up with the Rockies last year and was a stud. Like, I don't think he didn't give up anything. It felt like every time he went out there, and he was out there against some really good teams. And so I'm going to argue that he could become the setup. And then you got to have one of the flamethrowers just sitting there and locking down the 9th. And all of a sudden, that's a 3-way conversation between Halverson, Hill, and Vodnik. I mean, they can all throw 100. And for Buddy, it's who gets the ball in the strike zone the most. And so I'd assume that's where your answer lies.
Yeah, well, and Vodnik, I mean, his name is in there, but I think to respond to your just last sentence was, it's who gets the ball in the strike zone the most. Vodnik was the guy that, you'd get one ball right down the middle, and then you get one ball to the backstop, and you didn't really know which one that was going to be. That's the issue where I have with Victor Vodnik. Seth Halverson felt like he was more dialed in, sometimes too much, like I said, where he was leaving some balls over the plate, but he wasn't like erratic, and if you're a guy throwing 1-on-1 with movement, you gotta be locked in. So Halverson to me feels like not only going to be the best and most impressive bullpen arm that we have, I think he's going to end up being the closer. I have high hopes riding on Mr. Gas Halverson, as Spielberg's used to say. So
and real quick before we move off the topic, I just don't think Luis Peralta got talked about enough last year, because the dude pitched in 15 games, 12 innings, struck out 14 batters, and had a .73 ERA. Like, as a rookie reliever, he was a stud. And for whatever reason, like I guess he must have just been quietly mowing guys down, because I don't think his name comes up nearly enough in these conversations. And so just keep an eye on him next year.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on Mr. Peralta as well. Speaking of some pitching, but also going beyond that, Rockies have had 3 signings this offseason: Thairo Estrada, Jimmy Herget, and Kyle Farmer. Out of those 3 guys, who ends up being the best signing for the Rockies?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to go with Thairo Estrada. I think that's the easy answer. But one of the guys you didn't mention, I really hope Jeffrey Yan gets to the big league.
I know.
Electric
just big league signings. There were some other minor league deals too, but yes.
He's an electric factory, but I'm going to go with Estrada for this question.
Yeah, I like Herget. I think Herget, because we've got so many guys that can just throw heat with you, mix it up, get a guy with a weird arm slot, not throwing 110 miles an hour. Jimmy Herget seems like he could be a nice, like, 1-2 punch where you go from a just weird screwball looking dude, for one guy, and then go straight to Gas Halverson, who's throwing 101 straight at your face. Like that's a good combo. So I like Herget, but Estrada I think is the easy answer for sure. Number 17 is a follow up to that. Who ends up being the disappointment out of those 3?
I just think that, and I'm not trying to dump on the Kyle Farmer signing. I just never understood it from in the first place. And so I don't even know if he carves out a role with the Rockies.
Yeah, he's a depth piece. I mean, that's the role.
Yeah. And like, Sam Hilliard is your depth piece for the outfield, and the dude hits bombs. And shout out to Sam, because he's been through a lot. And last year finally came back to the Rockies and put together a great finish to the season, including that what should have been 600-foot bomb in the last game of the year.
Yeah.
But we know what Hilliard can do from a depth perspective, and I'm not sure what Farmer will bring. And I think anything that he does above league average will be a bonus to the Rockies.
Yeah. I totally agree. Wrapping up this last 18th question before we hit the last break and then our last portion of these. Does Brenton Doyle become the legitimate leadoff hitter long term? Does he solidify himself in that leadoff role for the remaining future of his career?
I'm going to go with no, hoping that you go with yes on this one, just because I think it's such a challenging position to be in. Like what Charlie did, I think Rockies fans just took for granted because he did it at such a high level for as long as he did. But hitting leadoff is not easy, and like I almost want his bat to be second or third, where you can drive some more guys in.
Yeah, and I think just the mindset, the mentality of hitting leadoff is really tough. I mean, and also, I mean, we just saw one of the best leadoff hitter in baseball, Ricky Henderson, pass away just a couple days ago, and when you look back at his stats, Henderson, I'm talking about, and like it shows you how important and how valuable a good leadoff hitter can be. Having a good leadoff hitter who can get on base, steal every single base, like that's huge. So if Doyle can solidify himself as that guy, that's so valuable for the Rockies. But I actually agree with you, Noah. I think no might be the answer just because I don't know if that's Doyle's best fit.
Yeah.
Could be. I just don't. I agree. I think 2, maybe even 3, depending on if his power continues to improve, might be a better suited spot for Mr. Brenton Doyle. So we'll end up, we'll see, but he is going to be starting off next year out of the leadoff spot. Got to take our last break. After the break, we're going a little off the rails. I said it, at the beginning of the show. This next one is where we do it. We're going to throw some craziness out at you here in just a moment. But before we do, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Saturday Neon. Saturday Neon's just this really fascinating company. They make neon signs, officially licensed logo LED neon signs that can go in your home, your business, your a sports bar, your office, whatever. I mean, it would brighten up Noah's background a ton if he had a huge Rockies neon, sign behind him. That would look incredible, although I'm sure his family would hate that. But it goes well anywhere. And I know in the bar, DNVR, we've got a bunch of them. We've got, some Rams, some Buffs, neon signs. They really are really cool. Really cool. They go great in the man cave. If you want to piss off your wife enough, you can put it in the living room too. See how that goes. But whatever you're into, Saturday Neon, they are truly the best. And they've got so many different choices to choose from, that you can choose between over 50 different schools, logos, all of that kind of stuff. It really is the perfect gift for this upcoming holiday season. So use code DNVR for 10% off your order when you head over to SaturdayNeon.com. Also got to give a shout out to some of the events coming up for DNVR. If you head over to thednvr.com/events, or right there is a QR code. Scan that QR code as well. We've got a big one, and I was just talking about it on TDSP. December 27th, a couple days after Christmas, we have got the DNVR Nuggets Suite Takeover at Ball Arena. The Nuggets are taking on the Cavs, 5 p.m., food, drinks. It's going to be a great time. There are still a couple tickets available. Be sure to check that out at thednvr.com/events. If you're watching a Nuggets game, that's the best way to do it. In a suite with a bunch of other Nuggets fans, with a bunch of the Nuggets guys, Adam, Harrison, Vo, D-Line, all of those guys. It's going to be a blast. So check that out. December 27th, head over to dnvr.com/events. All right, back here on the Rockies podcast, wrapping up the show with our 24 predictions to round out 2024. Noah Spirek, Christian Saez. Number 19. Where does Charlie Condon end up by the end of the season? He's not going to be at the big leagues. So minors, where do you think he lands?
I think he goes to Double-A, and I honestly think he stays there because the Rockies have kind of started to do this with their higher ranked prospects. They send them to Double-A, which is an extremely challenging level, and the division that the Hartford Yard Goats play in is one of the best for pitchers and toughest for hitters because of the level of competition that's there. I think he goes to Hartford and just has to grind through it, because you send a guy to Albuquerque, his numbers can get inflated by just playing at such a crazy altitude with such a big ballpark. It's kind of an outlier stadium, especially for minor leagues. It's kind of the same way Coors Field is for the majors. I think he goes to Double-A, and that's where he spends, honestly, the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I think Charlie's going to I think they're going to try to push Charlie a lot this year because I think they know the urgency at which they might need him in the next coming years. So I think Charlie's going to get to Double A. But this brings up my next question, number 20, and this is more for you, Noah. Because I know you have some experience with this. How many times does Bud Black get mad at someone for asking about Charlie Condon in a pre or post game interview this year?
Shoot. If I'm there for 41 games, then put the line at 41. No, I mean, we want to ask about the bright future, but we got to focus on today's game.
That's the answer.
That's the lesson I've learned. So,
yeah, the reason we say that is because one of our buddies, Sterling, Jacob Sterling? He's going to hate me for forgetting his first name. Jacob Sterling, Noah and I, the last half of the season, we're going to all these press conferences with Bud Black and everything. And inevitably, there's always someone, usually Noah, who, asks some like minor league question. No, and I'm giving Noah a hard time. There would always be someone who would ask a question about like the minor leagues, Charlie Condon, or what do you think of Chase Dollander? And Bud just would get so grumpy about it. And Bud is so chill, laid back. But it was always like, hey, there's a game happening here. Like we're talking about today. So it's just the running joke that, Bud hates being asked about minor league guys.
It is what it is, man.
It is what it is. First day back, Noah, when you're at a press conference, first question out of your mouth. Hey, yes. What do you think about Ethan Holiday in the 2025 draft?
I must.
Immediately kicked out. He'd be gone. All right, going into attendance here. Number 21. Is our average attendance over or under where it was last year? Last year was at 31,300. You going over or under? Average attendance.
I'm going to go under. I didn't even realize it was that high. I knew that it ranked 15th in baseball and like higher than 5 playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
But it being 31,000, I say they average under 30,000.
Really? Wow. I think the Rockies realize that they are taking a hit financially from the TV situation. I think they go even harder to make sure they get butts and seats as much as possible. Deals, discounts. I mean, they did $2 tickets at the end of the year. Like, I think the Rockies try to get as many people in seats as possible. They always do, but I think they go above and beyond because they know people aren't watching the games at home. Understandably, your team is losing 100 games per year. Like, people aren't watching games on TV unless you're a sicko like Noah and I. But that's the way it is. So I think they go all out for that. I think it's
Jeffrey Yan would sell out the games every night.
Are we counting the Savannah Bananas in this too? Like, I got a Savannah Banana question here earlier or at the end. All right, number 22. Does the City Connect jersey contain the Colorado flag in it?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask if it was going to be black based, like
no,
because
I want it to be.
Yeah, the black uniforms are elite. I also think Colorado State's uniforms that incorporated the state flag are fire, and I'm going to say no because I haven't thought about that, but that'd be sweet. Like I'm here for it. I just doubt it.
Every team has a Colorado flag, like every single team. It's like, come on. Black cutoffs. Go with what Brenton Doyle said on the show too. The black cutoffs are sick. He made a good point. It's hard to sell black cutoffs or just cutoffs in general. To like in the I almost said the student store, in the team store. Hard to sell those, but we're all here for it. We'd love to see it. You want to make fans happy when your team is losing? Bring back the black cutoffs. Simple as that. Simple as that. You'll have a week of positive Rockies conversation if you bring back the black cutoffs. I don't think they go with the team. I don't think they go with the state flag. The license plate was unique, but I don't think they go with the state flag. Number 23, second to last. Does a game get delayed or canceled due to snow? Side note, the last time the Rockies had to reschedule a game because of snow specifically was on Friday, May 20th, 2022.
Is hail involved in this?
No, got to be snow.
Okay, then I'm going to say no, but it'd be fun. Shoot, I love snow.
Yeah. Would you go out? Would you try to get out onto the field, like make a snow angel or something after everyone had to go home?
Yeah, with Bud Black.
With Bud Black. Can you imagine Noah Spirek and Bud Black making snow angels? He would. He out of all the managers, him and Terry Francona would probably be the most likely to do that. Maybe Bruce Bochy too. He seems like awesome. He's got a sense of humor. Bud Black's up there. I know, Rockies fans have their frustrations with Bud, and some of it's warranted. But again, I deflect a lot of those because I think it's hard to put together a winning lineup when you have the guys that you have on your team. I think Bud is doing the best that he can with the players he has, but Bud is one of the most liked and well-known, just well-respected coaches across all of baseball. And I was in Dallas for winter meetings and getting to spend all of half of a week basically with Bud Black and the Rockies, group, and seeing how Bud interacted with other guys, Dave Roberts, Bruce Bochy, just all of these baseball guys. He was like the popular one Dave Roberts stopped his press conference to go talk to Bud Black and like call Bud Black over. Apparently they live just like a couple miles apart and they go get like lunch together and stuff like on most days. Like Bud Black is, again, wins and losses aside, record aside, he's a very well liked coach, very well known coach in the Colorado, in the Major League Baseball world. And I get that there's an argument to be made about, maybe shaking things up, with the managing staff and whatnot. If you know much about the Rockies, they probably need a lot more than just a new coach to win, playoff games. But I think it's one of those situations where you don't know you have a good thing until you don't. And so I just want to, put that out there that I think Rockies fans are in a good spot with Bud Black for where the team is.
I'm with you. I think that one-liner that you said, like, you don't realize how good you have it until it's gone. Like, that applies to Bud Black managing this roster in particular.
Yeah, I know. I get it. You got to win. You still got to execute. I'm all for it. I wouldn't have been surprised if they had let him go. However, with him being here, I think he's doing, all right. Last question, 24, or prediction, I should say. Who's the celebrity guest for the Savannah Bananas? When they play at Coors Field, is it someone Rockies or not?
Oh, I was going to say if they can convince Peyton Manning to do it, then they'd do that. But
Peyton would be big. That'd be fun.
Shoot. If it's Rockies related, then, man, Brenton Doyle would be fun. Like, and I feel like he'd be down to as well, just knowing.
I don't know if he's got the sense of humor. I don't know Doyle much out of the context of baseball. He's a pretty serious dude. But like we saw Charlie Blackmon have a pretty deep sense of humor, like towards his, in the middle of his career. Maybe Doyle, shows us that side of him, as he gets deeper and deeper into his career. I got to go with Charlie Blackmon, man. If they brought Charlie Blackmon out when Savannah Bananas play, arguably biggest event at Coors Field all season long, and I'm not even trying to just, harp on the Rockies. I'm just like, it's the Savannah Bananas. It's just so fun. Like, make baseball fun in Colorado. Like, that's the whole vibe. When they play at Coors Field in 2025, it's going to be electric. And I think if you bring out Charlie Blackmon, a yellow banana hood over his head, comes out, you just see the beard, and he just takes off his hood. It's Charlie Blackmon. This place would lose its top.
Yeah, that probably has to be the front runner. And gosh, I would just hope that he'd be willing to do it, because
I feel like you would. Like, Charlie Blackmon seems like the type of guy that would just do anything in retirement just to have fun. Like, I'm bored. I'm just gonna try something new, right? Bud Black said it to me, just a couple weeks ago. He's like, I am not worried about Charlie Blackmon because Charlie Blackmon is one of the smartest guys I know, and he's like, and smart people never have any problems during retirement because they just find things to do, right? Like, you're not just sitting around like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, he's gonna find something to do. Maybe he trains all summer long to be the Savannah Banana celebrity.
And Dinger has to be incorporated too.
Oh, Dinger will be there.
Yeah,
Dinger will be there. I can we bring Ribby, the red band trout from Spokane, the Spokane Indians mascot? Can we bring Ribby and all of his little riblets? The little nose.
Organizational wide.
I love that. I would take that. Bring Ribby out to the Savannah Banana game. That would be insane. Are you familiar with the Ribby story? Like,
I'm not, but
no, you don't know Ribby?
Sounds like a stud.
Oh, he's such a stud. He's this huge trout. In Spokane, they have the red band trout. It's a native trout to the North Idaho, Spokane area, and they have one of their mascots is this huge red band trout, and it's but it's not this normal mascot. The Philly Fanatic, how he can move his belly.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so that's the whole body for Ribby. So Ribby will run out, and get out on the base paths or whatever in between innings, and he'll stop and he'll just do this, and the entire body just like, it looks like a fish swimming, but it's hilarious. And so when Ribby comes out, they get all the little minnows, and it's just these little kids in these little minnow costumes running out behind him, and all the kids are just flailing around trying to look like a fish. It's the greatest thing. It's like this famous thing that the Spokane Indians do. Ribby the red band trout's a legend.
Now I know. I'm gonna go look it up as soon as this.
You got to look it up. It's funny. Ribby the red band. That was my highlight of my time in Spokane. But yeah, it's good times. The Savannah Bananas. That's gonna be a lot of fun. It's 1:15 though. We got to wrap things up. That was our 24 predictions to wrap up 2024. It's been a grind of a season. It's been a long 2024. And we're gonna finish our 2024 by celebrating a 21st birthday. Shout out to Eric for giving Noah a shout out. It's his birthday in a couple days, and hopefully sending some good vibes into the upcoming year. Noah, appreciate you hanging out with us. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on yet again, and I'm excited to do this again in 2025. I'm just at Noah Spirek, Spirek, on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm over at Blake Street Banter.
My guy, appreciate it. Thanks, Tiff, for pushing the buttons and keeping us looking good here on the show. We'll see you guys next time. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everyone, from the DNVR Rockies podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.